Local news and local weather here on CBS3.
Tonight, a vaccine equity issue, how state governors are navigating distribution as people in underserved communities feel left behind. Plus, big broadband problems. Local lawmakers say the lack of internet access across rural areas should be a top priority. And later, still picking up the pieces. That's what some Twin Cities business owners are doing after unrest last year. Now they're asking the state for help.
From CBS3 Duluth, this is the CBS3 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kristen Bakke. Thanks for joining us. The CDC says more than 16% of Americans have now received at least one COVID vaccine dose. But states are grappling with vaccine equity issues affecting underserved communities. At the same time, the Senate is debating President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package. Skylar Henry has the latest from the White House.
Maryland drivers lined up for their vaccines outside a Six Flags theme park. Governor Larry Hogan announced a new vaccine equity task force to help at-risk communities. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom also discussed the issue and had words for anyone trying to game the system.
I was down in East LA the other day at a public housing site, exclusively Latino, and saw these Audis pull up, folks that look like me.
California now plans to set aside 40% of vaccines for vulnerable communities. As states ease restrictions, Alabama is extending its mask mandate once more until April 9th.
At that time, it will become a matter of personal responsibility and not a government mandate.
By next week, 16 states will have no mask requirement.
We no longer need government running your lives. Instead, everybody must continue to assume their own individual responsibility to take the actions that they have already mastered to make sure that they will not be contracting COVID-19.
Texas and Mississippi's broad lifting of restrictions is prompting criticism from health officials and even President Biden, who called it Neanderthal thinking. The president's nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill saw a contentious first day of Senate debate on Capitol Hill.
I object.
From the start, Republican Senator Ron Johnson objected to dispensing with the reading of the more than 600-page American Rescue Plan Act.
The U.S. is now averaging 2 million vaccinations per day. Dave's here with a check of the weather. We are almost to Friday. As our director and producer were just reminding me, you know how much I love Friday.
Yes, I do. Friday Eve, huh?
Yeah, and this weekend's looking pretty warm.
Yeah, some folks like it that way. Others who want to do a little snowmobiling or cross-country skiing, or like you, snowshoeing around some reclaimed mine lands may not have it so easy. It's going to be warm. And for the most part, it should be dry. I say most part because, again, tonight, like the last couple of nights, there are a couple of snow showers that are infiltrating our region from Ontario and tickling the Arrowhead and then crossing over to the UP. But for the rest of us here, it's high and dry from big cells of high pressure, which mean then the overnight forecast for most towns is calling for a partly cloudy sky tonight with lows in the teens, then partly cloudy to mostly sunny through Friday afternoon with highs getting up towards 40. Even here in the Twin Ports today, an easterly wind made it a little bit cooler by the lake, low 30s, which is still warmer than normal. And frankly, it's going to be warmer than normal for several more days, including the latter part of the weekend, which could lead to near record warmth for a couple of days. I'll talk more about that in just a couple more minutes.
Thanks, Dave. Superior police say a disturbance call escalated to a nearly 6-hour standoff today, and now the woman involved is in custody. It happened near 19th Street and Banks Avenue. Crews responded around 6:30 this morning. The standoff didn't end until noon, and police say they went to the residence after a woman in the upper level of the duplex threatened a downstairs neighbor with a knife. She also threatened to set the duplex on fire. After hours of trying to get her to come out, the duplex started on fire just before noon. The woman then jumped from the second-floor window. She was treated at the scene and then taken into custody. The Superior Fire Department put out the flames, and we do not have an update tonight on the woman's condition. Stop talking and make it happen. That's part of Governor Walz's message for northern Minnesota when it comes to the need for more broadband internet. He and other leaders in St. Paul have spent the week focused on our area because of the 24th annual Duluth and St. Louis County at the Capitol Days. CBS 3's Natalie Grant takes a look at the focus of this year's event aimed at bringing more state investment here.
Bring home the bacon. That's the goal of the annual Duluth and St. Louis County at the Capitol Days, a chance for leaders and lawmakers to advocate for what we need in northeastern Minnesota. And according to them, it's all about expanding broadband internet access.
We certainly learned in this pandemic when kids had to distance learn how totally inadequate our infrastructure was for broadband across the state.
Lawmakers like Senator Tom Bach of Cook are pushing for the legislature to take the problem seriously.
I talked to my own school superintendent in St. Louis County Rural Schools. 80% of the households in the St. Louis County School District were underserved. 80%. Well, that's just unacceptable.
Another topic weighing on the minds of lawmakers, how to transition back to life after the pandemic.
We have to have a gradual plan for total reopening. And we have to keep making gradual decisions based on science and the national rules that are sent down to us.
Governor Tim Walz was the keynote speaker at Thursday's event. He echoed the importance of supporting those who have been impacted the most by the pandemic.
Let's make sure we come out of COVID and make it right for those who got hit the hardest. Our children in schools, our small businesses, and those families, especially those in the hospitality and entertainment industry that were hurt during this. And then let's look towards the future.
And as for the issue of broadband, Governor Walz encouraged lawmakers to make getting Minnesotans connected a priority.
Let's quit talking about border-to-border broadband and just finish it.
If you would like to learn more about topics discussed at this year's Capitol Days, you can head to our website. We are just several days away from the start of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin's murder trial. Now prosecutors are putting the time his knee was on George Floyd's neck at about 9 minutes. The time has fluctuated before. It was given as 8 minutes and 46 seconds in an initial criminal complaint. Then a math error was corrected to put it at 7 minutes and 46 seconds. But filings since then, citing time-stamped police body camera video, now place it at about 9 minutes. It's unlikely the evolving figure will matter at Chauvin's trial on murder and manslaughter charges. A support group for victims of police violence also says the discrepancies won't make a difference. Jury selection in Chauvin's trial begins on Monday. The city of Minneapolis is putting the final touches on security ahead of Derek Chauvin's trial. The city has spent $645,000 on fencing around City Hall, the government center, and police precincts. The fencing around portions of the Hennepin County Government Center where the trial will be held is now in multiple layers. At a security briefing, Minneapolis officials, including the mayor and police chief, said the barriers are there to not only protect the trial, but also protesters. And the chief had a warning for anyone considering violence.
We cannot allow for any sorts of unlawful activity. And unlawful activity ranging from assaultive or riotous behavior towards anyone will not be tolerated. Setting fires to structures of any kind will not be tolerated.
Chief Arredondo added that throwing objects and demonstrating on freeways will also not be tolerated. We're told extra security, including National Guard and other law enforcement, will be in place for jury deliberations and the verdict. Last summer's unrest cost Minneapolis and St. Paul hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. It also destroyed small businesses that some Minnesotans spent years building. 9 months later, business owners and local leaders say they're still picking up the pieces, and they plead that it will take a significant state investment in order to fully rebuild and move forward. Caroline Cummings explains those costs and what's next on the path to recovery.
When you guys bleed, we also bleed. Let's come together and just rebuild our community.
An urgent plea from Abe Dimaj as he stood next to his pile of rubble. His furniture business in ruins, what's left of his American dream.
The dream has been shattered. For you guys to stand, even to talk about it after 9 months, I think is a shame for Minnesota.
It has been 9 months since the civil unrest tore apart parts of Minneapolis, like here in the Lake Street corridor. Since then, there hasn't been any state aid approved by the legislature to help businesses in the community rebuild after the riots. DFL leaders in the House want $267 million for a grant program to provide relief to businesses and another $300 million bond package for infrastructure. The Minneapolis Regional Chamber says that if the state does nothing, there will be a gap of hundreds of millions of dollars. It's estimated to cost $250 million to rebuild Lake Street alone.
You guys need to come to one table, whether you're Democrat or Republican. We work, all of us, as one Minnesotans.
But there are political divides on the issue. Republicans have rebuffed what they call bailouts for Minneapolis. And in a special session last June, the GOP-controlled Senate didn't move on the bill establishing the grants, dubbed the Promise Act. Senate Leader Paul Gazelka tells WCCO he wants to help those businesses that are struggling through no fault of their own, but wouldn't want any aid funneled through the city of Minneapolis itself. He suggested low interest rate loans available through the Department of Employment and Economic Development.
Two bills that would create grants and issue bonds for rebuilding are scheduled for a public hearing in the House tomorrow. Still to come on Live Local CBS3, families all across the Northland are still struggling to keep food on the table during the pandemic. How one nonprofit hopes to change that next.
Normal high temp today is 30. Over the hill in Duluth, 33 was the top temp. Still warmer than normal, although cooler by the lake from an easterly wind today. That should change tomorrow. We go back towards the 40s for just about everybody, and we could be talking 50s by perhaps Monday. Will those last? Early spring or just a tease? Well, we'll talk about it with the 7-day forecast in a few more minutes.
Welcome to the Kelly Clarkson Show!
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact and subcompact tractors. Our reliable #1 selling tractors are designed for easy operation and feature all the performance-matched attachments needed to tackle any job. Right now, get 0 down and 0% APR for 60 months, plus save up to $1,000.
No one serves you better than Lulich Implement. Discover wonder on the shores of Superior, inspired and learn about what is out in the rest of the world as we discover wonder.
New DQ rotisserie style chicken bites. I love you just the way you are. I never thought unbreaded chicken this good was possible. Your oven roasted 100% white meat chicken is 100% perfect to me. Finally, chicken that is tender, juicy, and flavorful all by itself. Or dipped in ranch. Or on a salad. Or in a basket with fries. Thank you, DQ, for giving me just what I needed. DQ. Happy tastes good.
It's RV Showtime, the indoor RV show, March 1st through the 6th at Hilmerson RV in Little Falls. Get the best prices of the season now and get on-the-spot financing with rates as low as 3.99%. Huge selection of new and pre-owned RVs to choose from. Over 60 RVs indoors with the nation's top 25 best brand names. Shop everything from pop-ups to motorhomes and get top dollar for your trade-in. Don't miss the indoor RV show, March 1st through the 6th at Hilmerson RV, Highway 10 in Little Falls, or shop online at hilmersonrv.com.
Mining. It's a part of Minnesota's history that affects everyone in the Northland still to this day. From environmental issues to economics and so much more. Join me, Kristen Baki, every Tuesday for Eye on Mining, a fair and unbiased report that answers the tough questions surrounding the world of mining.
Eye on Mining with Kristen Baki. Tuesdays at 10 only on Live Local CBS3. Brought to you by Range Regional Airport.
CBS3 Weather is brought to you by Lulich Implement.
Now, the CBS3 Duluth WeatherMax forecast with meteorologist Dave Anderson.
Well, we have very warm and calm weather today, but today's also the 36th anniversary of the blizzard of '85 that hit on March 3rd and 4th of that year with 16 inches of snow, 90-mile-per-hour winds, drifts 6 to 10 feet high across Superior Street and across Park Point. It was pretty nasty. This picture here comes courtesy of Kenny Gallagher, who you're probably familiar with and you listen to KDAL radio. This is 9th Street on Duluth, just off of Central Entrance. And that poor 70 Chevy Impala there is buried. And frankly, I remember that storm because I was a junior at UMD driving a '68 Dodge Monaco. No mercy at all back then. We had until 9 o'clock in the morning to shovel out our cars, get them out of the residence hall parking lot so then the school could come and plow. And school was not canceled either. I'm starting to sound like one of those old timers. Flibbily flew. In my day, we walked uphill to school both ways in the 3 feet of snow, that kind of deal. So right now, a lot calmer indeed. And it'll stay that way for several days, warmer than normal, and no snow. In fact, our next precip chance may be straight up rain, which we'll talk about in a bit. Right now, we talk about the current conditions at the airport. It's 24, calm wind, 30.4 inches of mercury is the barometric pressure, and that's on the high side, to put it lightly, because of big cells of high air pressure that have controlled our region for a while and will do so for several more days. Current temps, 20 to 22 in the Upper Peninsula, and 21 to 26 degrees for some towns in Wisconsin, though 25 seems to be a more common theme for places like Solon Springs and Hayward. Minnesota numbers still holding on to 30 from Orr to Ely, but dipping a little bit in Silver Bay down to 21, and frankly, the temps will dip into the teens for just about everybody overnight, though 20 to 22 may be possible right by the lake. Now, getting into the Doppler map here for our area. With the high pressures in control, it's a clear sky for a lot of towns here for our area, although a couple of clouds, like the last couple of nights, have been trying to darken the skies a little bit over the Arrowhead of Minnesota, parts of the UP, but these clouds and those few stray snow showers won't add up to much. It's going to be the highs that continue to dominate our picture from Friday until Monday. Tuesday could be the day of change when this low-pressure system in Alberta Clipper, backed up by another low now threatening to form up in Nevada, come our way, with a chance for a rain-snow mix Tuesday through Thursday. And I do think it's a better chance for rain, especially on Tuesday, because temperatures could be in the 50s and could set a couple of records. Tonight, low temps in the teens for Minnesota with a partly cloudy sky, and in the teens as well for Wisconsin and Michigan. Tomorrow, Wisconsin and Michigan highs run 40 to 45 with a mostly sunny sky. And in Minnesota, I think we'll hit 38 to 43. That's warmer than normal on all zones. And of course, it stays that way for the next several days. We go to 48 Sunday, 50 doable on Monday, 53 on Tuesday. That's why I think that day is going to be rainy, Kristen. Then it may cool a little bit for the mix on Wednesday and turn into some snow showers on Thursday, 30% chance for flurries. And so that's a sign that this warm spell won't last forever. We will cool down again at least a little bit by this time next week.
What a different world we're in compared to 1985 on this day.
No kidding. I didn't have to shovel a lick today.
Wow, lots of snow there, and not so much now, but maybe there will be more coming.
Snow fans are hoping for one more go-around, and others, of course, are hoping it won't.
Yeah, I know. I'm stuck in the middle there.
We have about 8 more weeks of chances.
All right. Thanks, Dave. As the pandemic rages on, so does the need for many families continuing to struggle. CBS3's Alex Libby gives us a first-hand look at 2 Northland nonprofits that came together today to make a difference.
Whether it's on top of the hill in Hermantown or down by the lake in Duluth, food insecurity shows no boundaries.
If there's food left, we'll distribute it to some of the local food shelves, but chances are pretty good that we'll be done before 6 o'clock because everything's going to be gone by that point.
Todd Johnson is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of the Northland. His organization and the Duluth YMCA spent Thursday afternoon giving away thousands of pounds of free food. Johnson says these food giveaways are essential for those who can't afford fresh, healthy food.
We've got 1,300 boxes. Each box is 24 pounds and about $100 value.
Out of those 1,300 boxes, 650 of them were given out here at the Heritage Center in West Duluth. The other 650, the YMCA in Hermantown. And much like last week's food giveaway at the deck, the overwhelming need forced them to open early.
We were expected to start at noon, and we had cars lining up at 9 a.m. So we had cars lining up 3 hours early.
According to both Sass and Johnson, this massive need is directly related to high unemployment.
With the pandemic, there's a lot of people out of work and a lot of people doing what they can to survive.
Johnson says food giveaways like this will become more common as long as the need is there.
We're actually on board for the next couple months to do this. Our plan is to do it once a month. We can do it more if there's a need for it. So.
Both of the food giveaways have since wrapped up and were federally funded through the Farm to Family program. Still to come, with less people on the roads this last year, safety experts believe deadly crashes would be down. However, that's not the case. We have the details next.
CBS3 live cams are brought to you by Kohler Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac. You're not just getting a car, you're getting Kohler.
Welcome to Medical Insight, a weekly healthcare feature brought to you by the experts at Essentia Health. Here's your host, Louis St. George.
Today on Medical Insight, Essentia Health cardiologists Kalkadan Bishu and Kimberly Boddicker talk about the Mitra Clip, a transformative technology that treats congestive heart failure in a minimally invasive way.
The Mitra Clip is a small device that is used to treat a leaky valve in the heart.
It is placed inside via a catheter, so no open incisions. The catheter goes up to the heart, and then basically the clip pulls the two leaflets of the valve together.
Really, its job is to hold the two mitral valve leaflets together and keep blood from going in the wrong direction, backwards into the left atrium and then the lungs.
Symptoms of severe leakiness include increased fluid retention, bloated bellies, swollen legs, problems sleeping, shortness of breath, and irregular heartbeat, and fatigue.
So by getting rid of this leakage, we can improve the pressure within the left atrium and within the blood vessels inside the lungs, and thus improve shortness of breath symptoms. So the goal is to improve symptoms, and with improvement in symptoms, patients are able to do more and thus improve quality of life.
Oftentimes, we can see a result while we're still in the lab doing the procedure. So people who are sick enough to require the mitral clip, a lot of their blood flow is going backwards every time the heart squeezes, even though it's supposed to be going forwards. And so we measure that real time by blood pressure monitoring, by other catheters in the heart. And oftentimes, as soon as we close that, their blood pressure improves, and we can tell that the fluid levels or the blood levels are moving in the right direction.
For Medical Insight, I'm Louis St. George.
To learn more about this and other health topics, visit essentiahealth.org/medical insight.
When severe weather hits, tune to CBS3 for up-to-date coverage morning and night.
Epilepsy can affect anyone with a brain. It does not discriminate.
If you have a brain,
You can get epilepsy.
But here's something that's just as important to know.
anyone with a brain can affect epilepsy.
So let's use our brains to do just that.
Let's change the way people think about epilepsy.
To find cures.
Because if all of us can get epilepsy,
All of us can end epilepsy.
We just need to use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains to end epilepsy.
Order your 2021 Polaris side-by-side now from Duluth Lawn and Sports. Questions about the COVID-19 vaccine? Now there's an information center to provide the details you need. Get local vaccine information and the latest from the CDC, all at CBS3Duluth.com. When it matters most, turn to live, local CBS3. CBS3 Sports is brought to you by Northland Lawn Sport and Equipment.
While the pandemic kept Americans at home, the number of miles driven in the U.S. dropped 13%. Even as the pandemic emptied roads, the number of deadly crashes spiked. Preliminary estimates from the National Safety Council show more than 42,000 motor vehicle deaths in 2020. That's up 8% from the year before and marks a 13-year high. In addition to the spike in death rates, about 4.8 million people were seriously injured in crashes last year. The numbers reveal that during the worst public health crisis in a century, there was also a crisis on the roads. Coming up in sports, the rematch we've all been waiting for, Hermantown versus Grand Rapids. Highlights next.
Winter is full of surprises, but you'll be ready with a Ford Escape.
Because with up to $5,000 total cash, now is the perfect time to get behind the wheel. Chilly mornings? You've got remote start. Freezing temperatures? Forget about them with heated seats. But hurry, your chance to save big and see for yourself how the Ford Escape is built for weather ends soon. For a limited time, get up to $5,000 total cash on an Escape. Only at your Northland Ford dealers.
Please help us protect people with disabilities and other vulnerable Minnesotans of all ages from COVID-19.
Access North has partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to be a COVID community coordinator.
We all want to get back to normal as soon as possible, so please help us stop the spread by doing the right things to protect ourselves and others.
Contact Access North Center for Independent Living, your local COVID community coordinator resource for people with disabilities.
Epilepsy can affect anyone with a brain. It does not discriminate.
If you have a brain,
You can get epilepsy. But here's something that's just as important to know.
anyone with a brain can affect epilepsy.
So let's use our brains to do just that.
Let's change the way people think about epilepsy.
To find cures. Because if all of us can get epilepsy,
All of us
Can end epilepsy.
We just need to use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains.
Let's use our brains to end epilepsy.
Mariah Haberman here from Discover Wisconsin. Join me and the rest of the crew every week on this station for all things Wisconsin. Continue the adventure on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and discoverwisconsin.com. Plus, subscribe to the Cabin Podcast, available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Heart attacks and strokes happen, even in the midst of COVID-19, and at least one will occur while you're watching this. Heart attacks and strokes are medical emergencies. If you experience symptoms of a heart attack or stroke, do not delay seeking care. Call 911 immediately. Hospitals are prepared and can safely treat you. Visit cdc.gov/coronavirus to learn more.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear. Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
All season long, we've talked about how strong the Hermantown boys hockey team has looked. Deservedly so. Almost none of their games have been close. But the one team that has been able to hang with them so far has been Grand Rapids. The Thunderhawks are ranked 4th in AA. They got another crack at Hermantown tonight, but this time up at the IRA. Tied at 1 in the first. Grand Rapids on the rush. They get one through. Blaine Mortensen puts the Thunderhawks up. The lead would grow to 3-1 in the second, but this game far from over. Aiden Dowd finds Aaron Pionk. Hermantown finds himself back within a goal. In the third, Zam Plant, working in between the circles, finds Wyatt Carlson, and deja vu just like last time. It's tied at 3 in the third. Stays that way for the next 7 minutes. Wyatt Holcomb bringing in the zone. Puck gets free. Hunter Bischoff comes through. This time, Grand Rapids gets the go-ahead goal in the third, and they hand Hermantown their first loss of the season, 6-3. More boys action. Duluth East hosting Cloquet Esco Carlton over at Heritage Center. Opening minute, shot from the point. Aiden Spinnensbly lights the lamp for the first goal of the night for Duluth East. East now shorthanded. Dylan Gray with the snipe to give the Greyhounds an early 2-0 lead. We go to the second. CEC now shorthanded. Logan Dushkin able to sneak that one past the goaltender. We've got ourselves a ball game. In the third, more from CEC. Shot from Kate Anderson has eyes for the back of the net. Tie things at 2. That's how the game would end in a 2-2 tie. Big boys basketball matchup on top of the hill tonight. Duluth Marshall hung on for a 70-69 win over Moose Lake Willow River. Hilltoppers extend their win streak to 9 games. If we've learned anything in the past year, it's the abnormal is normal. We had another example of that tonight. Volleyball in March. Superior opened up their spring season against Sparta, the Battle of the Spartans. First set, back and forth. Casey Ulnimi gets one over, then Sparta can't return. But after that, the other Spartans took over. Superior Falls 3-1 in their opener. To the college ranks, it was the opening night of the UMAC playoffs where the top seed and undefeated St. Scholastica Saints were looking to continue their impressive season. Hosting the 8th seed Northland College at Reef Gymnasium, Saints led by 14 coming out of the half. They never took their foot off the gas. Craig Berger from the corner, that's a three-pointer. A few minutes later, former Duluth East standout Noah Winsett with the blow-by, then hold on to their double-digit lead. Nice night for former Eskimo Quinn Fisher as well. 12 points, including this steal and score. Nick Carlson led the way with 14. St. Scholastica on their way to the semifinals Saturday night, 86-71. They'll host Bethany Lutheran. Unfortunately for UW Superior, their season ended tonight against Mankato. 1-point loss to Bethany Lutheran. We'll head to St. Scholastica for the semifinals. On the women's side, St. Scholastica fell at Northwestern. UWS came up 1 point short against Minnesota Morris. Their seasons are over. Finally, in the NBA tonight, the Bucks were looking to snap a 2-game skid in Memphis. This was a fun one. Here's the ending. Down 1, Ja Morant drives and scores. Just like that, the Grizzlies up 1. Milwaukee, 7 seconds left. Drew Holiday, how deep is your love? Swish. That's your ball game. Start the bus. Bucks win it 112-111. That'll do it for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
CBS3 closed captioning is brought to you by Essentia Health. March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Ask your doctor about screening options.
Have you guys tried the brain freeze?
No, brain freeze sounds disgusting.
You know what? Sour gummy worms.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. You guys have to try it.
What about dragon's blood?
I feel like that'd be like a champ.
You just missed the tobacco industry's latest scam.
Have you guys tried the...
Because you were supposed to. Tobacco companies use tempting flavors to hook kids on nicotine. Unfortunately, it's working.
Do you want some?
Sure. See what you've been missing at missingitmn.org.
Funerals can be emotionally devastating for a family to go through. Besides the sorrow, loved ones are left with the high cost of arranging a funeral. Funeral Advantage was formed to help protect your family when they need it most. It pays your loved ones up to $20,000 immediately for funeral and any other expenses.
It's a good feeling to know that my family will be taken care of if anything happens to me.
Funerals can easily cost $9,000 or more, but government benefits pay only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the rest.
It's so easy. Just answer a few simple health questions. This is so affordable, even for someone like me who's on a fixed income.
If you're 40 to 85, get information on how to protect your family. Funeral Advantage is something we all need. There's no risk or obligation. Call now.
Get the facts about how easy it is to protect your family. There's no risk or obligation. Don't wait. Call the number on your screen now.
Always ready, always there. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Every second of every day, it happens. Something big, something worth talking about. News happens, and you can't wait for it. You need to be constantly digging, asking, hunting, wanting more. More truth, more real answers. More who, what, where, when, and why. And it's about you. It's about now. It's about wherever, whenever. At Live Local CBS3, it's about the news. Your neighborhood news. Men's wardrobe provided by Mainstream Fashions for Men. Celebrating 30 years in business in 2021 with 30% off store-wide. Downtown Duluth.
Most of us have been spending more time than ever in front of our screens this past year. Whether it's on phones, computers, or televisions, tomorrow is the National Day of Unplugging. The Bartkowski family spends much of their life online these days between remote work and virtual learning for their kids. One of their kids, McKenna, estimates she's online 8 hours or more per day for school and socializing. That's why their mom plans to have the family participate in National Day of Unplugging for the first time, which calls for people to put away the devices. Easier said than done, I think, for a lot of folks these days.
It really is, Kristen. There's so many things we have to keep an eye on, like this warm spell that's just going to get warmer through the weekend. And by Sunday, 48 degrees, and by Monday, 50 degrees. Campo there says he's going to put on his shorts and go to Park Point Beach if it hits 50. I want to see that. Then Tuesday, we get a chance for some rain and 53 degrees.
See you tomorrow.